Hold on. We got a problem. All right. It looks like we're live.
Looks like we're live.
Yeah, it was giving me an error. So thank you for technology working. All right. I am Suzanne with Ideas 360, and we are here today with our Thrive Live. It's our third broadcast this week. We've been talking with folks throughout our business community. Thrive is a business community of local professionals. And we are here today with our legal and financial professionals. And we're glad you joined us. And let's kick it off and have you guys introduce yourselves to the folks, our audience who are listening. Christy, you want to start us off?
All right. I'm Christy Rawlings with Emerald Financial Partners. I'm a CPA and I specialize in small business accounting as well as individual tax returns. And I've been there for 13 years.
Awesome. Welcome. Pablo?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Pablo Alvarado, Certified Financial Planner. Been in the industry for 27 years, and I specialize in retirement planning, insurance planning, and life insurance planning.
And Tara?
Hi, I'm Tara Frame, attorney with FrameandFrame. We've been in business for over 65 years when my father founded the firm. And our firm believes in helping people with thoughtful planning, guidance during times of crisis, and creating a clear path for life's legal journeys. My part of the practice focuses on estate planning, elder law, probate, and estate administration.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us today, guys. So we got a lot happening in your industry. So let's dig right into it. Pablo, why don't you tell us what's going on in the financial markets?
Well, we're seeing continued persistent volatility, both to the upside and the downside. March was one of the most aggressive months to the downside that we've seen in a long time. Markets are well off their highs of just a couple of months ago, and it's really rattled investors.
Yeah. I know that it's been a challenging time. I've seen quite a few posts on social media, and I know folks are a little panicked right now. So we've heard some folks throwing out the big D word. Pablo, what do you make about the whole depression thing?
I just think that's irresponsible reporting, in my opinion. We're not seeing signs anywhere near to those. There are three big distinctions from what we saw back in the Depression. The three major ones is that the Federal Reserve actually increased rates back in the 1930s. Congress raised taxes, and we were in the middle of a trade war where the government increased tariffs up to 50% with their trading partners, and they in turn reciprocated in kind. So that really didn't set a formula for success. Banks, unfortunately, in 1 week during those times, about 500 banks went under. So depositors lost everything they had. In contrast, today, the Federal Reserve has acted pretty swiftly. Rates are down to almost zero. They're providing a lot of liquidities to businesses and local governments. Congress has enacted three major stimulus bills, the CARES Act being the biggest one, and there's one more in the works. And the biggest trading partners with us are talking about suspending tariffs for the time being. So two different approaches, and we're just not seeing any signs of a depression at this moment.
Yeah, well, it's good to have folks like you to as resources, because certainly there's a lot of fear mongering out there. So does that require a change for most folks' financial strategy, or is it really more of a cooler heads prevail kind of discussion?
Yes, but there is also an opportunity to make some significant changes where, prior to this, most diversified portfolios, we had expanded to, smaller portions of the portfolios and more riskier assets to to balance out the portfolio. Right now, the unique opportunity is to consolidate up to more quality names that we just couldn't touch 2 months ago, and are pretty, at a pretty big discount right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, Pablo, I have a question for you. So, I mean, if people are able to, don't you feel like now is a really great time to take advantage of some of the opportunities in the market?
Absolutely. If you had been on the sidelines and you have some assets, if you had been sitting in cash for a while, this is the time to start at least getting your feet wet in at least in pieces to take advantage of this opportunity that we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
I personally feel like this is a great time for the younger generations to get involved in the market because the stocks are lower. How do you address that? Because I know the younger generation is very cash and they like to hang on to their cash, and especially now in this time where people are saying, oh, the sky is falling, and we might know that that is not true, but how do you get them out of that mindset and change that thought pattern?
I think it's education. It's reach out, education. If you go into it with the approach that you got to sell something, that's just never worked. It's never worked for a lot of people. When you have somebody knocking at your door saying, have I got a deal for you approach, it just doesn't work. But the education piece, we can show people, hey, we've seen tough times before. We've come out of those tough times before. And usually we come out stronger than before we went into the crisis. So the long-term effect, just to give you an example, if you're a 20-something year old right now, or you have 25 to 30 years to go, $500 a month today could amount to $250,000 by the time you're, 25 years later. And that's significant. That's the education piece that's missing out there right now.
I love that. Great advice.
I mean, I think for the young people, I mean, I'm obviously, Pablo, you're the expert, but just, I read some trade magazines and keep up on some of the stocks. And it seems like, now is the time for the younger people, like buy if you can. There's so many great deals out there I feel like companies that, we know are not going anywhere, but their stock has taken just a hit. And then, like you said, if you have the capability, buy now. And if you're going to hold on for the long term, in 20 years, that's going to be a significant, asset and savings for, people.
Yeah. And
even if it's just a little bit.
The formula has never changed, right? You got to invest. You got to diversify. You got to diversify into good quality names. And you have to invest often. Reinvest your dividends. And it doesn't matter if you're starting out with $50 a month or $500 a month or $1,000 a month. The key is to invest and invest often.
Yeah, I know. My sons were not really happy at the time, but I guess it was like 2 years ago. We gave them a gift card that allowed them to invest for like Christmas or their birthdays or something. And they were both like, oh, gee, thanks. But, now 3, 4, or 5 years later, my son has, a little teeny nest egg that was established just with that little seed that was planted. So I think it's a good point you make there. All right, switching over to Tara. Tara's our legal expert. And I'm just curious, in this kind of environment, Tara, what kind of legal advice are people seeking?
So we've been getting a lot of calls. I mean, it's obviously because of the coronavirus and all the fear that the media has been instilling in people. And people are calling saying, am I covered? Do I have what I need? I have current clients saying, am I good? Is everything good for my children in case something happened? And then I have new clients who don't have anything in place, and they're finally realizing that, nothing's more than likely nothing is going to happen to them in the near future, but anything could happen. Emergencies and accidents happen all the time. And they're realizing that it's really important to have at least basics in place, such as a financial power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney, and an advance directive, along with a will or a trust, that would pass on and protect assets after they pass at some point in the future. So, I have so many clients who are like, yeah, it's been on my list. I keep meaning to do that. I've wanted to do it for years. And now they just realize they need to bump this up to the top of the priority list. And now that they have the time, they have the motivation just to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. What about, we know seniors are in this high risk category. So what should seniors and their family members really be thinking about and doing right now to prepare?
Well, my biggest piece of advice is, again, kind of restating, but they really need powers of attorney in place, because if something happens, the family can't do anything. They can't manage their stock portfolio, their assets, their investments. They're not going to be able to take action without those legal documents in place, which would be a financial power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney. And this goes along with what Pablo, with Pablo's industry as well. I've had a client call in, and, when the stocks are all dropping and they're saying, well, I need to do something for my parents' portfolio. This is crazy. I need to take action. If they don't have a financial power of attorney in place, the financial advisor, Pablo, will not be able to do anything. His hands are tied without that legal document in place, and he can't do anything, even if everything's, going crazy.
Yeah.
That is so true. I mean, if somebody calls me, it doesn't matter how difficult the situation is. If we don't have at least trading authority set in place, we're not going to be able to execute anything unless we speak to that client directly.
And
I know
it's really such an easy thing to do. I mean, it's not a difficult process at all. It's just so easy and relatively cheap to get these legal, planning documents in place. There's really no excuse not to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And Tara, I tell my clients all the time, if you have that document in place, let's put it on file. Bring it to your professional, to your financial advisor or whatever other professional that you work with, so that it's on file, ready to go in case something happens.
Yeah. And Terry, you're launching a new platform for that I think is really innovative. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. So I have a couple new checklists that I've prepared, and it kind of gives people, it points people to things that they might not have thought about. So some family protection planning checklist, it gives them a list of things that they need to be aware of. Do you have these powers of attorney in place? Have you named a guardian for your children? If you have children under the age of 18, that's really important. Are you familiar with your family assets and household finances? There's a lot of families that, one spouse or the other is in charge of the family and household finances, and they come into my office, and when I'm asking them questions, they say, I have no idea. I'm going to have to ask my husband. That's really a bad situation to be in, because if there's an emergency and you don't know what the household finances are, how are you going to pay your bills? Sometimes they don't even have access to the computers, the passwords to the online accounts. So when they need to pay bills or they need to get access to the monetary accounts, they don't have that information. So these are just basic things that every family should go through to make sure that they've covered. So I put it in a nice checklist so they can go through and make sure that they've covered all of these different items.
Awesome. I think that's really important. And those checklists are on your website, so that's really easy to get to. Christy, let's circle over to you for just a moment. You're in the accounting, and more so this time of year, I guess, the tax industry. We know the tax deadline was pushed down back to July 15th, but I'm seeing so many questions on social media, particularly for business owners, 1099 employees or 1099 contractors, about the stimulus package. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
So the first thing, really, that the independent contractors who are just filing a Schedule C, they're not an S Corp or anything like that, are now eligible for unemployment benefits through the state of Maryland. Though they're eligible for the unemployment benefits. However, they're not allowed to apply yet. So they need to go to the Department of Labor and Licensing website and sign up for their updates so that they know immediately when those benefits are available to them and when they can apply. You know, like Pablo was saying earlier, cooler heads are going to prevail in this time. Everything is behind. It usually takes about 2 weeks to start receiving your benefits. I know with the mass amounts of people applying, it's going to take a little longer. So the idea is just to be patient, but they will be eligible for unemployment benefits. The other thing that they're eligible for is for the Paycheck Protection Program. They're going to be entitled to a loan up to, just like businesses with payroll, their net profit from their Schedule C or from their business is going to be eligible for a loan up to 2.5 times their monthly average for 2019. So that's another thing that they need to reach out to their banks for so they can start that application process, which just became available for independent contractors today. So reach out to your local banks, find out what you can do, make sure you're getting notified of their updates. Everybody is just inundated right now. So the idea is get your application in, remain patient. Like Pablo said earlier, Congress just passed this law on March 27th. People, because of irresponsible reporting, people heard that they had to file these applications as soon as it became available. Well, the banks weren't quite ready yet. I mean, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to get these platforms up and running. So get your application in, be patient. You can call the bank, but you're not going to get any more information than what's already available to you. The other thing that just passed yesterday was Congress extended the time to make your second quarter estimated tax payment, which is due June 15th. It's now due July 15th with your tax payment that was due for 2019 plus your first quarter, and now your second quarter has both been extended to July 15th. The other thing that I've been getting is really about the stimulus package, what's available for individuals. If you filed your 2019 return already, if you've made under $190,000 as a married filing joint couple, you'll be eligible up to $2,400. But it's going to phase out. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. If you made under $150,000 as a married filing joint couple, you will get $2,400. If you have kids who are under the age of 17, you will get $500 per child. As you make more than $150,000, that $2,400 is going to be phased out. So you will get less, but you'll still get some up to $190,000.
So all of that, those are things that basically your clients or people who have an accountant, they would come to you specifically for those tax things, correct? The IRS is going to, or Congress is going to be depositing this money right into your bank account. If you had, if you received a refund for 2019 or for 2018 and you had a bank account listed, they will be direct depositing this money into your account automatically. If you owed money or didn't have a bank account listed, you will be getting a check to whatever address was listed on your return. So it is important like 2 Christmases.
Right? However, let me be clear. If you receive this stimulus check and you weren't supposed to, meaning 2018, if you haven't filed your 2019 return yet, they're going to base it on your 2018 return. Yeah. So if you made more money in 2019 and you're holding off on filing a return because you want to get this check, you file your 2020 return, you're going to be paying it back. I mean, you're still getting cash now, which is good. But just to be clear, you're going to pay that back if you weren't supposed to get it.
Hey, Christy, I have a question for you. So, you know, and I've had people call and either they've been on Social Security disability or workers' comp and they hadn't filed tax returns for 2018 and 2019. So is that the information accurate that they should just go on they can file it on the IRS website and just, they file a zero income tax return, but at least that gets them into the system so that the government knows that they are entitled to the stimulus check?
No, they do not need to file. They're going to coordinate that information with the SSA. What those seniors are going to need to do, which isn't available yet, there's going to be, IRS is developing a platform for them to go in and put in their information without having to file a tax return.
Okay.
They can file a tax return if they want to, but it's not necessary for them to do that. And then they're going to cross-check that with the SSA, Social Security Administration. So there's no need for them to file a return. It's just that the platform isn't there yet. All
good.
This is coming out so fast. It's just things aren't quite ready yet.
Yeah. I think it's just another example of why people need experts like you guys, because navigating all of this without resources is crazy right now.
Christy, can I ask a couple of questions?
Yeah.
For Christy. Christy, the CARES Act also provides IRA withdrawals penalty-free up to $100,000. Can you speak to how the taxes, because I don't think this is a tax-free withdrawal. How are the
It is not a tax-free withdrawal, but it is if you're under, typically if you withdraw early, there's a 10% penalty. That penalty is waived if you've taken it out because you've lost your job due to Corona, or anything Corona related. You can take out a withdrawal. The good thing about this is that you will have to claim this as income, but they're allowing a 3-year period. So you pro rata whatever you took out, and you'll claim that over the next 3 years on your tax return.
Got it.
Also, and I'd have to check the time frame. If you put that money back in, I believe it's a 12-month period, there's no consequences at all, no tax consequences. So
that's huge.
Yeah, awesome. What is the biggest aha moment you've had during the COVID crisis, either personally or professionally? Or maybe what business innovation have you seen?
I think for me, go ahead, Christy.
Well, we just got up working from home within less than 24 hours. And we thought it was something that really wasn't possible for our industry, that we wouldn't be able to meet with clients, that we really needed to have that brick and mortar front, which we still may need to have, but it's not necessary for us to continue doing business.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of question marks around the commercial real estate after this is all over with, certainly, because a lot of organizations are figuring out that they may not need as much space as they used to. So, yeah. What about you, Tara?
Yeah, I think we also did the same thing. We were had to switch to remote because we've, everything's been in the office. Clients come to the office. So we're doing everything by Zoom, Zoom conference calls, video conference calls, or telephone conference calls. And I think it's something we'll probably keep using because, how much more convenient can it be to get your estate plan in place from the comfort of your living room and your couch? I can do everything, remotely for them. And the only thing we have to coordinate is the actual signing because, for estate planning documents, we do need the, witness and notarization and the original signatures. But everything else, people can be in their home and I can help them with all of this. So, I think people are going to enjoy that and be able to use that more.
Yeah. And, kind of in line with that, Mark Hesseloff from Goosehead was on yesterday, and he was saying that when people are at home, they have all their documents right there. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you meet with them in the office, they got to go back and get the documents and they got to email them. So I think, there's definitely some advantages, especially in an industry like you and Pablo's or Christy's, where the people need to bring you or show you documents. And if they're at home, they usually have them in a file cabinet. So, yeah. How about you, Pablo? Any aha moments or?
For me, it's been the realization that you can't go back to business as usual when this is all over, right? We're talking about the innovation of video conferencing. I've been remote for 11 years now, and about 2 or 3 years ago, I started using Zoom. And obviously now, I already have the platform ready to go, but I'm realizing if we want to be more effective with our time management, we can't go back to spending 3 hours to get to a meeting, 3 hours to get back when we have this option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to change things a lot for how business was done versus how it is done. I think for most of us on the call, it'll kind of be like the invention of the internet. I mean, it totally changed the way business was done. So yeah. So we're all a part of Thrive, right? We're all Thrive members, and of course, one of our core culture values of our community is to give back to the communities in which we live and work. So, how have you done that, either through Thrive or through your own business, or just even personally? Who wants to jump in on that one?
I can go. So I know through Thrive, we raised $600 for the local food bank in a week. What I've been doing personally is really more work related. I've been talking to a lot of people who aren't even my clients to help them fill out applications for the loans that are available, answering questions. I mean, even just my husband's boss is calling me, what's this mean?
Serving as a resource.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important too. Terry, you were gonna jump in?
Yeah, so we also, through our Thrive community, we've also we supported one of the local restaurants, and we had Luna Blue in Annapolis help deliver dinner to the Anne Arundel County Medical Center emergency room. So I know they really appreciated that, and it was a way for us to show appreciation for all the hard work and putting themselves on the front line and kind of risking their own health for the the members of the Anne Arundel County community.
Yeah. How about you, Pablo?
I got to give a shout out to my wife, because with her limited time, she's managed to be in touch with her friends, other moms from school, to not only talk about what places can we support, but also making sure that other kids within the school system are taken care of as well. So the outreach and the outpour of generosity has been very, very moving. Over the last several weeks. So
yeah, it's been kind of interesting to see folks kind of come together, both personally and professionally. There's just been a lot of helping your neighbor, helping other businesses, and obviously as part of Thrive, that's a core component of our culture. So I love that.
I was going to say, Thrive, we're a group of like-minded professional, people. And one of the things that I've enjoyed is that even if people call me, I appreciate that people look at me as their family advisor. And even if they know I don't do what they're asking, they call me and ask for a resource, because they know I'm going to send them to a person who I would use personally for myself, that I fully trust, and I'm going to give them good guidance and send them in the right direction. So it's been nice to have all of these resources available, whether it's financial advising or tax consultant or marketing professional, insurance. We have all of these people that we can refer our clients to make sure that they're covered no matter what the issue is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge part of my business, because people will call me, not anything related to me or my business, but they'll call me and say, hey, who do you know who? And, I've got a dozen people sitting around my table in the Thrive group that I know will take care of these people. So thank you guys for that. So we have some businesses and some consumers watching, and in kind of a wrap up, what's the best advice if you were giving advice to a client or a prospect? What's the best advice that you would provide for our audience right now? And Tara, okay, Pablo.
I can go first. Number one, don't panic. Be patient. Cool heads will prevail. Whether you are directly affected by the virus itself, or whether you've been displaced from work and you're not making income, reach out to your professional partners your financial advisor, your tax professionals, your attorneys. There's two highly qualified attorney and tax professional here in this forum right now. Reach out to us. We'll give you whatever information that you may need to make an informed decision. If you still working and you're concerned looking at your statements and you've seen the value of your investments go down aggressively, be patient. If you need a second set of eyes, I'll be more than happy to take a look at it and give you some guidance, but don't panic. Cool heads will prevail.
Yeah, great advice. How about you, Tara?
Yeah, I think for businesses, I think businesses need to hang in there. I think one thing businesses, it's really important for them to keep in contact with their primary clients and customers, not just sit back and kind of wait for things to get better. They really need to be, active and reach out to your clients, reach out to your customers, let them know that you're still there, you're still available. I think businesses, they say necessity is the mother of invention. I think a lot of businesses are going to come up with innovations, and it's going to be good for their businesses in the long run when things go back to the new norm. So I think some businesses are really going to grow and do really well if they put their mind to it. For consumers, I think now is a really great time for them to do things that they've been putting off, whether it's like a household project or getting your estate plan in place, or read a good book that you've been sitting in the corner of your bedroom for 3 months. Do these things that you've kind of just put off to the side, you never had time to do. Maybe you do have a little bit of extra time, sitting at home because you're not out and about. So take advantage of it, and as much as you can. One thing, I had a post on my business page about tolerations. People learn to live with things that they shouldn't live with. Things that drive you crazy, pet peeves, and just kind of start knocking off those tolerations. Do the things that you've been, clean your closet, throw away, things that you've been in the corner for too long, and all of these kinds of things. So it'll make you feel really good.
Yeah. And Christy, before we move on to you, we had a question. I think it's for Christy. Can you talk about the 941 tax credit businesses can take in Section 3610 of the CARES Act?
So that is the employee tax retention credit. When I think about what I like over one or the other, as far as what's available in the CARES Act, I like the PPP loan because you can get more money. But the employee tax retention credit, it's a $5,000 credit for each employee that you pay during this time. It's through December 31st of 2020. So any wages up to 50% credit on the first $10,000 of wages, which is why it's a $5,000 credit. But it's a credit on the employer portion of FICA and Medicare, and that will be reported on the 941.
Yeah. Do you have to file that now, or is that when you file your taxes?
There is a form, I believe it's 7200, where you can claim the refund now. But otherwise it would be claimed when you file your 941, and they will add another line item to that form to show a credit. Gotcha.
So, Christy, finish us out. What's the best advice you're providing our audience right now?
For my small businesses, a lot of them just sound really overwhelmed with the amount of tasks or the things that they have to do or read, and I just tell them one day at a time, one task at a time, one thing at a time. Just because if you try to look at everything, you're not going to get anything. Make sure you're reading from the right resources. IRS.gov is a good resource. The SBA is a good resource. Typically Facebook, the posts that you see on Facebook are not going to be a good resource because people aren't reading the information, they're just forwarding it, right? So pick your resources, read from those resources, and that's it. Turn off the news and like Tara said, take on those projects that you haven't done, that you've been putting off. Spend money wisely, but don't be, we're not looking at the Great Depression. Right. So don't be afraid to go buy paper towels, but don't hoard. Don't panic, relax, stay calm.
I need to put that headline on the bottom. The leading advice for today is do not hoard toilet paper. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us. It's been great to have you. For our audience, you can get any information on these members of Thrive Arundel at thrivearundel.com. Their contact information is there. And we really appreciate you guys being with us. We hope you stay safe out there. Hopefully we'll see you guys in person soon.
That's right.
And have a great day, guys.
You too. Thank you, Suzanne.
Everybody.
Take care.